you're going to go straight across like this, and this distance right here represents f of 2 plus h minus what? F of 2, right there. So the green represents f of 2 plus h minus f of 2. And then it says, what line has that slope? Can you draw that line for me? What line has that slope? It goes over h, but it goes up that much. So what line? What do you have to connect?
The curve.
You're not connecting the curve. You're connecting the 2 points. You're connecting this point with this point. So what line has that slope? This line. Yeah, this secant line. That is correct. Who said secant line? That is absolutely correct. So it's this line right here. If we call that point A and point B, the answer to this would be the line through A and B. That's it. H is any value from 2, and it's going in the positive direction. Given is G. So we know that 0 is 0. Congratulations. Okay. What can you tell me G prime of negative 2? What's one concrete thing you can tell me about G prime at negative 2? It has to be positive. You know it's positive. What about G prime at 0? It has to be negative. What about G prime at 2? And positive, right? So automatically you know that it's definitely going to be G prime of 0 is less than 0. But then you have these 3 that you have to compare the relative values for. So G prime at negative 2, that's this slope right here. G prime at 2 is this slope right here. G prime at 4 is right there. So if you have to think about this, you're trying to put them in increasing order. So what can you tell me about G prime of negative 2? Is that really steep or really shallow? This is steep. What about G prime at 4? Shallow. And it looks like at 2 it's normal, you could call it, right? Just in terms of value. So if you're doing from least to greatest, which one's going to be the least of all of those? G prime of 4. And then it's going to be G prime of 2. And then it's going to be G prime at negative 2. Do you know the exact values?
No.
No, you know the relative values. That's it. That's it. Are they ever going to give you a value comparison where they're like this and this? No. They're going to make you compare things like this, 0, negative. Basically 5 items is the biggest you'll get because you'll either have 0, really positive, kind of negative, or really negative. You can't really differentiate between more than that unless I gave you a function and some graph paper and a ruler. I mean, it would be kind of unfair of me to go, which one's steeper, and like move it around. No, that's not cool. That's just not cool. 0. It is easier to do this one when you do h goes to 0. Not much, but we as a class last block thought it was. So can someone tell me it's going to be the limit as h goes to 0 of what? F of a plus h minus f of a over h. That should be automatic. You write that down. No hesitation, no mistakes. That has to be automatic. Because if you mess this part up, what happens to the rest? You can't go anywhere. Like, I need a better soundtrack, but like death, destruction. I need that like warhead going off sound, right? You plug in a plus h, and it kind of gets scary because now you're looking at this. The limit as h goes to 0 of a plus h to the 4th minus 5 times a plus h. That's the first thing, right? That's when you put in, that's f of a plus h right there. Minus 5 times, oh, sorry. Nope. Minus a to the 4th minus 5 times a over what? What's our whole goal? Can we plug in 0 for h? No. So if we want to go any further than this, what's our whole goal when we try to simplify this? We want to eventually be able to do what? We want to cancel out the h's, right?
Yep.
We want to nuke the h's. You need to be careful. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Do not multiply something out unless you absolutely have to. So what's the absolute worst thing you could do at this point? Multiply it out. Actually, that's not the worst thing you could do, but you can do it properly that way. What's really dangerous about trying to multiply this thing out?
It takes so much.
It takes a long time, and what's going to happen?
Arrows.
You're going to make a mistake. Multiplying a plus h to the 4th out, there's a high probability you're going to make a mistake. So let's try to do the slightly harder but much more clean and easily editable method. So here, I'm going to do something here. I'm just going to regroup the numerator. And right now, everybody, I'm just going to look at the numerator. I'm not going to keep on drawing over h. I'm going to rewrite it as this. A plus h to the 4th minus a to the 4th plus 5 times a plus h minus. I'm just reordering it. Is that okay? Do you see why it's plus 5a and not minus 5a? Distribute the negative. Are you okay with that? I'm now going to recognize something here. Can someone tell me what this is? I'll write it and see if you can tell me what it is. What? Ah, the difference of what? That is the difference of squares. Classic. Did you say classic? Yeah. And what can I factor out? I'm going to factor out a negative 5. I'm left with what? A plus h minus h, right? Let's just take a look at this now. What do you now see right here? What do you see right there? What? Yeah, you end up with a plus h minus a times a plus h times a plus h squared plus a squared. And what does this turn into right here? Minus 5h, because the a's cancel, right? This right here turned into this one. All right, does everybody see what's going on here? It's difference of squares twice. It's difference of squares twice. Here's the cool thing. Let's simplify and see what happens. This right here turns into what? H. The next thing turns into 2a plus h. Do you agree? And we keep this one the same. Remember what I said? Don't multiply things out unless you have to. Minus what?
Wait, is it a squared?
A squared. Thank you. It's a squared. Thank you. Now, there are only two terms here. There's this term and there's this term. What's in both of those terms? Hallelujah. 2a plus h. A plus h squared plus a squared minus 5. And what's this whole thing over? And it's the limit as h goes to what cancels? The h's cancel. And now you plug in 0 for h, and what are you left with? 2a plus 0, a plus 0 squared plus a squared minus 5. So what are you left with? 2a times a squared plus a squared minus what?
5.
So that's 2a times 2a squared minus 5, which is 4a cubed minus 5.
Boy.
Booyah! Now here's the thing. I need to make a clear warning, and I'll put this on the record too. There are quicker ways to do this, which you will learn later. If you use the quicker method that someone might have taught you, which is really cool because it's quicker, you will receive 0 credit on the problem on this coming test, which is on Thursday. If you use the non-limit method, because we haven't taught it, you will get a 0 on that question. You must use this method. But once again, be comfortable with estimates. I'm not asking, like, should you ever write an answer that's like, well, I estimate it's 2.35. You're like, no, stop it. You're not doing that. The only way you'd ever come up to that estimate is if I gave you some like massive piece of graph paper with unbelievable detail and you had a huge meter stick that you were like drawing lines on and estimating points really far apart and doing, no, stop it. You're just supposed to basically identify, is the slope 0? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it really positive or is it really negative? That's it. On the AP exam, they ask questions like that. They will ask you questions, you're not taking the test, but on the AP exam, they ask questions like, put these derivatives in order, like what we just did. And all they're asking you for is, where is it 0? Where is it really positive? Where is it really negative? Where is it kind of positive? Where is it kind of negative? That's it.
So it's mostly like an estimate.
For that kind of question. The limit as h goes to 0 of 3 minus 2 times a plus h plus 4 times a plus h squared minus 3 minus 2a plus 4a squared all over h. On this one, what should you just do? It's such a small power, what should you do? Just multiply it out. If the powers are just squared, you can just multiply this thing out, and guess what's going to happen? The 3's, first of all, the 3 is going to cancel, right? This is going to cancel with this one because it's minus 3. Everything else is going to have a what in it? Everything else is going to have an h in it, which means it'll cancel with what's in the denominator. And then you can just plug in h's here. So you guys can finish this on your own, okay? Yes.
So it's the first equation is a.
This is f of a plus h, and the second one is just f of a. That's correct. That's it. It's all of it. It's all. Okay, ready? Put everything away except the pencil.